Hey guys, it's Byron here and welcome to Byron's Reviews, and today we will be reviewing Super Mario Land on the Game Boy. So let's go. So Super Mario Land is a very interesting game in the Mario series because it was a Game Boy launch title and it was Mario's first game on that console, and interestingly it wasn't designed or produced by Shigeru Miyamoto, Mario's original creator. So that allowed it to be quite different and unique, which I think makes it stand out. So let's go into more detail. So first off, let's talk about the level design. And as is the case with a lot of Mario games, the level design is top notch with a great placement of enemies, pipes, blocks and etc. And this really makes each stage a joy to play. And with the level design aside, I think that the gameplay in general in this game is really fun. Obviously Mario's a platformer and this game is no exception. So there's a lot of platforming with moving platforms and stuff, and a lot of really interesting elements it introduces. And if you want to be good at things like this, timing is a big focus. And it's really fun just trying to master each part of each level with different platforming sections. And you will die, but when you die, you kind of know it's your fault, and there aren't too many cheap deaths, other than if you're jumping over a hole and you hit an invisible block which bounces you into the hole, which actually happened when I was playing the game this morning, but there really aren't too many cheap deaths at all, so it's not too much of a big deal. And when I died in this game, I wanted to keep going, and that was because I think the difficulty is really well balanced. As you'd expect in any game really, it starts off fairly easily, but as you progress it gets increasingly hard to near the end. It's actually pretty tricky, but what makes it fair is throughout the game gives you a lot of lives to rack up, and this is done mostly through mini games at the end of each stage. And the way you get to mini games is you can either go through a door at the end of the stage which takes you to the next level, or for the mini game you can go through some sort of challenge which takes you to a second door where you can have a game where you can win power-ups and lives. So as well as the mini games, another thing that breaks up the monotony in Super Mario Land and gives it quite a bit of variety is that some stages are actually horizontal shoot-em-ups and not the typical side-scrolling platformer, which is a very weird addition to Mario, but it's certainly welcome because they're very well made. And in some stages you'll control Mario in a submarine, other stages you'll control him in a plane, and they're surprisingly fun. You can like break blocks to get power-ups, kill enemies, and all the standard Mario stuff, but in a shoot-em-up, which is awesome. And about the length of this game, you can beat it in around 30 to 40 minutes if you're good at it. And when I played through it once again this morning to really get my thoughts straight for this review, I beat it in under 37 minutes. So you may say that's a fairly short game, but I actually think for a Game Boy game that is a perfect length, because let's say you're going on a bus journey, a car journey, a train journey or whatever, and you just want a quick game to play in that journey. And if you have like a 40-minute journey, this game is going to keep you occupied and having fun for the whole time. And it really shows that the developers of this game had in mind that, okay, we have to make this different from the console versions of Mario to make it suitable for a handheld. So at the beginning of this video I said that this was a fairly unique Mario game and had a lot of differences because it wasn't designed or produced by Shigeru Miyamoto. And other than the shoot-em-ups, which I've already talked about, other differences include there being a brand new princess that was introduced in this game, Daisy, a new villain which is an alien and I can't really remember its name, but in the gameplay there were new enemies, new power-ups, and there are even new worlds, because so one of the worlds is the Easter Islands I think, and there's even like a China style world. And with the enemies, there are some familiar ones, like Koopa Troopers for example. But a difference the Koopa Troopers have in this game is that when you jump on them, you better get out the way because their shells explode, which is kind of funny, but you don't want to get killed by them. And believe it or not, in this game you don't have fire flowers. Instead you have something that looks like it, but it's actually what is known as a super ball. And in this you fire it and it doesn't bounce across the ground like a fire flower does. It basically bounces off wherever it hits and carries on going in that direction until it either hits something else, in which it bounces off it, or it just leaves the screen. So that means you have to get your timing of when you fire the super ball a lot more accurate than the fire flower in a lot of ways. So I guess that adds another skill to this game. And next let's talk about the music in this game, which is my favourite part of this game because the soundtrack is phenomenal. There are so many catchy tunes, some of my favourites including one for that Chinese sort of world I talked about, and I think it's called Chai Kingdom or something, I may be wrong. Then there's the credits music, which is awesome, and there isn't really a track I don't like except one, not because it's a bad track, but because it's a very weird choice. When you get a star and you're invincible temporarily, it's not the standard Mario invincibility music, it's actually the Can Can, and why they chose it, I don't know. So far this review has been fairly positive, but unfortunately we're starting to get onto the bits that I don't like as much about the game. So let's next talk about the graphics, and I guess they're okay for a Game Boy launch title, but honestly between worlds they don't have much of variety at all, and all the sprites and objects are just very small when playing on the Game Boy screen. But I suppose if you're playing on a Super Nintendo or a Retron 5 or a GameCube through the various attachments they have, it's much more playable that way. But still, some of the enemies in the game, I have no idea what they are. And granted, Mario does have some very weird enemies, but I'd like to know what some of them are actually supposed to be instead of a random mess of sprites. Now let's talk about the controls, which could initially make somebody who's used to the console Mario games be a bit wary about the game they're about to play, because I'd be hesitant to call the controls in Super Mario Land bad, but they are certainly different. They're kind of hard to describe, but a biggest difference is with the running. In a console Mario game like Super Mario Bros. Or Super Mario Bros. 3, when Mario runs, it takes a while for him to get to his maximum speed, and when he slows down or breaks to a halt, it takes a while for him to stop. In Super Mario Land, when you start walking or running, you're at the maximum speed pretty much immediately, and when you stop after a few milliseconds. So I guess once you get used to it, it's not that bad, but if you're used to other Mario games, it may take a while. So overall, I would say that this is a great Mario game, and I think it's one that often goes under the radar. And I will say this, I do not believe that it's as good as other Mario games like Super Mario World or Super Mario Bros. 3, but I still think it's a very worthwhile game playing if you just want a bit of a Mario game that's a little bit different. And you can find this game on Amazon or eBay for about 5 to 6 quid or $8. And for that price, I'd say it's a pretty good deal. But I think you can find it cheaper in like car boot sales or flea markets, or even at a retro gaming store. But either way, it's not too expensive, and I'd say it's a good game to play. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review, even though I felt that this review maybe was a bit dodgy with the way I spoke. So if you have any constructive criticism with how I could improve, please let me know in the comments, and while you're at it, why not tell me your opinion on Super Mario Land if you've played it. But right now, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna have a good old sing of this game's wicked soundtrack. See you later, guys. Da, 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 da. I can't sing, okay?